there. It has been a little minute since I recorded a podcast, but I'm back because I am introducing my new coaching program called the Saint Method. I feel like I've been working away in the background on this for ages, so I'm very, very excited to finally have something ready to present to the world. So if you don't know me and my background, I guess just to give the program a little bit of context, I have always had issues, I guess, with my weight. And this goes all the way back to when I was a teenager, really. I used to do a lot of dancing. I went to a dance school. And when I look back on it now, what happened is that I hit puberty earlier than some of the other girls, essentially. So when I was 14, 15 years old, I started to develop hips, boobs, and in a ballet dancing company, that wasn't the look to go for. So me and a few of the other girls, we used to get put in what we jokingly referred to as fat dresses. And when I look back now, I realize that back then I was probably like a UK size 8 and I was wearing what I thought was a fat dress. So I've kind of always had issues from a young age when it comes to, I guess, wanting to be smaller. And because of that, I have, throughout the years of my life, tried many different things, always with the aim of getting smaller. So that would be, I remember when I was at dance school, I decided to try Slim Fast, which, if you don't know what Slim Fast is, it's basically meal replacement shakes. So you'd have a shake for breakfast, have a shake for lunch, and then eat a normal dinner. So I was taking Slim Fast when I was like 17 or 18. And I remember my skin like turning gray and just having absolutely no energy and just not being able to get myself off of the floor, which is probably a bit problematic for the amount of activity I was doing at that time being a dancer. I remember the first time I learned about calories and saying, oh yeah, it doesn't matter what you eat, just as long as you eat within the certain number of calories. So you could eat this whole chocolate bar. And I've never seen them in New Zealand, but in the UK, we used to have these massive dairy milks. Like probably a kilo, I don't even know, maybe less than a kilo. But it was less than 2,000 calories. And I remember saying, I could eat all of this and still lose weight. And I did. I think I ate a whole kilo block of chocolate, which I don't recommend. So, you know, over the years, I've kind of had an interesting relationship with these things. When I went to university, I actually didn't really care that much, probably because I was drunk. I used to drink a lot of alcohol. I've been drinking lots and lots of alcohol probably since I was 17 years old. Whilst I was on Slim Fast shakes, I was probably having a shake for breakfast, a shake for lunch, dinner, and then 10 blue WKDs of an evening. I don't know if you had blue WKDs in New Zealand, but very good Alco Pop that I was obsessed with when I was young. So anyway, at university, I was drinking a lot of alcohol and partying a lot. And what we used to do was when we were coming home from the clubs and the bars, we would go to the takeaways. So I was up in the north of England and they are famous for hot chips with curry sauce on the top. Don't knock it till you try it, it's amazing. And then covered in cheese. So we would have this on the way home. We would sometimes have pizzas, and there was this very famous place that used to do pizzas with kebab doner meat on the top. So we used to have that, fish and chips at 2 o'clock in the morning. So over the course of my first 1 and 2 years at uni, I ballooned. I gained a lot of weight. There was no exercise other than dancing on the dance floor. And I didn't care. I was just having such a great time. But I see photos, and thank God this is back in the day before social media existed. I've got physical hard copy photos of myself from that period, and I look unwell. I've got a big round football head. I just looked very swollen and unhealthy. But like I said, I was having such a good time that I just didn't really care that much. In my third year at uni, I discovered party drugs and became really into the rave scene. And with that, you kind of don't drink as much alcohol, you don't eat as much food, and you dance and dance for hours and hours and hours. So actually, by the time I left uni, I had lost all of the weight that I had gained and some. So I was in pretty good shape, but again, not from a method that I recommend at all. After uni, I moved to London. Again, lots of partying, lots of drinking again, and just really living the lifestyle. Met a boy, got into a relationship, moved to New Zealand. And in New Zealand, in said relationship, when I first got here, I wasn't having a great time. Not a great time in my relationship. It was a tough transition for me. As wonderful as New Zealand is, I love it. It was harder for me to find a job that I liked. And I really just wasn't looking after myself. Again, we were drinking a lot, we were eating out, and we were eating a lot of takeaways. My exercise was running. I've always kind of had running on and off. When I was living in London, when I moved here, I was doing a trail run series. And that was it for my exercise. So I'm eating a lot, drinking a lot, not doing much exercise. Again, my body changed. And I just felt shit, to be honest. I went up to 80 kilos, just over 80 kilos. And again, just wasn't happy, just felt lethargic and low energy. I didn't like people taking photos of me because I didn't like how I looked. I looked really old. Like when I look at photos, I actually look older than I do now, even though that was like 12 years ago. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Relationship broke up, and on my own, starting to re-socialize, got into some dancing again because I love dancing. I've always loved to dance. Met a new group of people, started moving around a bit more, started drinking a little bit less. I was still drinking a lot. Anyway, one day, one of the girls had said that she had got a personal trainer. So I was like, oh, what's a personal trainer? What's this all about? And she explained that she's been going to the gym, she's been doing resistance training, and that she highly recommended her personal trainer. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this a go because she looks like she's in great shape. She's doing a really good job. So I reached out to this personal trainer and I started training with him. And I think we can see where this is going. My body started to change. I started to feel better. I was still partying, I was still drinking, I wasn't really looking after myself nutritionally, but I really got into the weight training. I started out on 1 session a week, moved up to 2 sessions, and then eventually I was doing 3 sessions a week with him because even though I was loving it, I knew that I would not go to the gym if I wasn't going in for a PT session. So, you know, I understand it when people say that they need the accountability. And there are a lot of my clients that I train now that I know would not come to the gym if they weren't coming in with me. And that's fine, because that was me too. Anyway, during this period, I was still doing some weird stuff nutritionally. I remember I got onto some fat burners at one stage, which really made me feel like I was gonna like explode from the inside. They were awful, horrible. I remember doing something called carb cycling, which was a thing, but then got debunked and I felt terrible. I remember trying keto and I felt terrible. I remember reading this book called The 4-Hour Body, and the diet that he recommended was like beans, a lot of beans, and it was terrible. So, you know, even though I was starting to do the right things, I still wasn't quite there. I was just still picking up different fads and messing around with things. And obviously because they were fads, you can't really stick to them. And I lost weight. I had visible muscle. So I was looking good, but it still wasn't quite there. But over time, I've fallen in love with this. I've fallen in love with this transformation. So I decided to get educated. So that's when I did my nutrition coaching qualification. And then after that, I did my personal training qualification. So now I am a personal trainer and a nutrition coach. I'm also 41, which for me, I actually feel better than I did when I was in my 20s, which probably isn't too surprising considering the story I just told you about how I used to live my life when I was in my 20s. I was probably just hungover all the time. But, you know, I'm in my 40s and I feel great. I feel strong. I feel mobile and I have energy. And yeah, I feel good. And like I said, I think I actually look younger than I did a few years ago when I wasn't really looking after myself. And people are always saying to me, how do you do this? What do you do? Tell me, how I want to have more energy. I want to feel like this. I'm tired of feeling shit all the time as well. So that's where my program has come from. So that was a long-winded way of giving you the background of what this framework is and why I pulled it together. And I guess the whole point of it is I just have such a better life now than I used to. And I just want to help other people have a better life as well. My motto is life's too short. I actually have a tattoo. I got this done when I was like 17 or 18. It's Elvish. And I translated it myself, so it probably doesn't actually say life's too short, but I think it says life's too short. It's a real bad tattoo and really I should get it covered up and removed. But anyway, life's too short. I honestly do believe that. And life is definitely too short to be feeling shit all the time. It's too short to be complaining about how tired you are all the time. Life's too short to hide yourself in photos like I used to. We aren't here for a long time, so let's have a good time. And that doesn't mean go out and get wasted. That means let's enjoy every minute because we feel good and we're not wasting our time feeling shit about ourselves. So anyway, that is the background of where the SAINT method was born. So SAINT is my name, Michelle Saint, but it's also an acronym. So my SAINT method follows 5 principal pillars, which I'm going to go through now. So S is for strength. So a large component of the SAINT method is training. So as I mentioned, for me, resistance training was really the first thing that really clicked and really made a difference. Now, you just cannot swing a cat on the internet now without hearing how important strength training is for women in perimenopause, menopause, but just in general. And women, in my opinion, have really been done a disservice over the years because a lot of women do not feel like the gym is their place. They always think of the gym as a place for men and that it's for bodybuilders. And so they've never done any strength training in their lives. And now you get to your older years and it's like, fuck, now everyone's telling me I need to go to the gym and lift up some heavy shit. And where do you even start? So on the SAINT method, this is for everybody. This is for all levels, even if you've never stepped into a gym before. This is about getting you training for the 100 million health benefits that are associated with it. Of course, you might get changes in your body composition, which is a big goal for a lot of people, but actually strength training is something that you should be doing anyway for your health. So it's a big part of the program to incorporate strength training, and I can individualize that to you, any restrictions that you have, any preferences that you have, how many days a week you have to train. So that can be totally tailored to you to make it work. Now, aside from strength training, another form of training that's really important for our health as we age is our cardiovascular training. And this doesn't mean hours and hours and hours. This is not something where you have to absolutely beast yourself doing cardio every day. Actually, the amount of cardio that's recommended for your health is not as much as you think, but it is something that I will encourage as part of this program. And then something that I just hate, and I notice it happening more and more and more, as women complaining about how old they're getting. And I have people come to me that are in their 30s and they're like, oh gosh, I'm so old. And I'm like, bitch, I'm 41 and I don't feel like you do. So it's not that you're old, it's that you are not mobile. So mobility is something that I think is really important, and even if you don't actually have any bodily restrictions, it's something that I encourage strongly in my program as well, because the more mobile you are, the more freedom of movement that you have and the more quality of life that you have as you get older. So that's all incorporated into the strength pillar: resistance training, cardio training, mobility training, and a little bit of movement in there as well, so that we don't become sedentary little beings. A is for align. So this is a bit woo, but align and alignment is really about living in line with your self and your goals and your values. And this is something that I've only really just started getting into recently, and it just resonated so strongly with me, and it made me realize just how important it is. And especially as you get older, I think as women, typically we bear the brunt of everything. Let's just be real here. We say yes to everything. People rely on us. We have jobs, we run our households, raise families, we do everything. We say yes to everyone. And it is so easy to just lose yourself in that process. You become someone that's there for everyone else, but actually, what do you want? What are you about? What are your values? I actually think it's really important to sit down and have that reflection and say, what am I? What do I care about? What is important to me? Because I think sometimes what can happen is that you might have some strong values that you haven't really identified yet, but you might not be living in a way that aligns with those values. And when that happens, something just always feels off. You never feel quite right and quite content. So there is some mindset work where we will focus on what are your values, what are your goals, what are your priorities, and are you living in a way that aligns with all of that? And if not, what can we do to shift your priorities and bring you more in alignment with what you want? And that is just going to ultimately make you a better person, so that you can still serve everyone else, but you're just coming from a stronger place. So align. I is for instill. So this is about instilling habits. So as you heard from my story, I've tried lots of different things, but really there's no one thing that is going to change your whole lifestyle. This is really about behavior change. It's really about forming new habits that serve your life and replacing old habits that are just not serving you at all. So there's an identification process that we'll go through to figure out what are the things that you need to be doing in order to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. And then it's a process of really instilling those habits into your life so that you don't need to think about them. You know, everything is easy when you're motivated, but we're not always going to be motivated. So getting these habits instilled into your life means that you have just got a much greater chance of just living this lifestyle rather than it being just for a short period of time. N is for nourish. So of course, food is so important in all of this. Not everyone has a fat loss goal. If you have a fat loss goal, that is absolutely fine. But what I am also really interested in is helping you to lose fat if that is your goal, but also making sure that you are eating in a way that fuels you and nourishes you. So again, it's everywhere at the moment. Protein. The reason it's so big is because it is so important. Like, that's not fake, it's really important. And most people are under eating protein. So this is why it's everywhere now. But it can be quite overwhelming when you're just not eating that much protein and then someone tells you you have to eat 140 grams. It's not just about losing fat, it's also about eating well, looking after yourself, making sure you are fueling yourself, making sure you're getting enough protein, making sure you're getting enough fiber, making sure you're getting enough micronutrition, making sure that you're not just eating shit food all the time. And that's not to say we ban anything. There's no banning of food groups in the SAINT method, but it's about finding the balance and the moderation, making sure that you are eating for your health as well as for your goals, whatever they may be. And then finally, T is for thrive. So if you nail your training, your movement, your nutrition, your habits, you're winning. We're looking good. That's great. Thrive is the little cherry on top, the little sprinkle of magic, those extra little bits. So this is things like our sleep, things like setting boundaries in your life, things like stress management, things like supplements, if that's something that you might need. So these are all the little extras that just take you from in a good place to absolutely thriving and nailing it. So those are the 5 pillars: strength, align, instill, nourish, thrive. It's not just a fitness program. It is obviously a lot more holistic than that. It is about your lifestyle and changing your lifestyle. It's taking all of the lessons that I've learned the hard way over the years and transporting them into a nice little package that I can hand to you, and you can save yourself a lot of the time that I wasted faffing around with all of this weird stuff. So this is going to be delivered predominantly via an app. There is a one-to-one coaching element that can all be done online. It's individualized to you, but because it's app-based, you can do it from anywhere in the world. So wherever you are, even if you're not in New Zealand, you can still work with me, which is very exciting. If you're like, yes, I need something, I don't want to feel shit anymore, I don't want to have no energy, I'm tired of complaining about how tired I am and how stressed I am, this might be for you. If you're worried about getting into the gym for the first time, if you're overwhelmed by all of the crazy conflicting nutrition information that's out there, all of that messaging being thrown at you because you're a woman approaching perimenopause, come to me. I will help walk you through it and we'll get through it together. So if this does sound of interest, please get in touch and let's talk about how we can get working together towards a thriving new you. I will see you soon.